episode of our first season. So we are going to take a minute and look back on all the cars that we reviewed and everything that we learned. It's been interesting, and it's, I think, been not exactly what any of us expected as far as how things shook out and where some of the cars stood in the end. From the raw facts, we have our list of pax times, raw times, average times, which we'll hopefully display here. So, was there anything that we saw that stood out to anybody as kind of a shock to anybody here?
The Miata.
Yeah, I'll say that. Yeah. I think it's telling and crazy that the Miata was the slowest raw time that we had, but the highest pax time that we had.
Slowest fast raw time.
Single one hot lap time.
Right.
But not the slowest average raw time.
No.
Certainly not.
No. It wasn't that far off.
No.
Actually, all cars came down pretty close.
Yeah, it was
the fastest laps were within 1.1.
I think that's correct.
Yeah, 1.13.
You know,
whatever. Yeah.
I'll just start the conversation and say that I was surprised that the SRT4 was not faster than it was, that its average was lower, and that its overall raw was not higher. I figured it would get killed by PAX, which it did, but I also thought that it's
poorly prepared for DSP.
Right.
Regardless, though, it's an incredibly powerful, well set up front wheel drive car. I'm surprised that it just. I mean, I guess it didn't fall massively short, but it felt a lot faster than I guess it actually was.
I was surprised with it in relation to the Miata.
Yeah.
I like the Miata, but it had the most things I saw improvement for. I felt like the SRT4 was going to be quicker.
Right. That's what I saw too.
Getting out of both cars.
Yeah. I think a lot of that was the course too. Though.
Right.
I agree.
It was a very tight course.
Yeah.
So while we're on the topic, I wasn't there. Who set up the course, and would you want to talk a little bit about this?
I'm actually the one that put the kinks in the front straight. I put the kink in the front straight, and I put the slalom in the back straight.
And you knew we were taking the SRT4 there.
Yeah, I basically nerfed my own car. Yeah, because the way I was looking at it was I had those cheap pads on it, and it was going to get well into third gear on those straightaways.
Actually, I wanted to put tight course as well, not just because my car was Miata, but it's more because I felt that is go-kart course, and it doesn't have much runoff, so didn't want to drive someone else's car, especially like SRT4 or M3 with a lot of power, and I've never had experience with, and take it out to the brand new course I have never driven, and
end up in the corn.
It's also worth mentioning. It should be brought up that that is a course that was set up by 3 people. You were late.
Course by committee.
Yeah, but it was a course that was done by 3 people that had literally never set up an autocross course before. We were basing this off all in theory of what we have seen and run on, which we've been doing this for a good amount of time, but none of us have ever actually set up an autocross course.
Course setup.
We're not course designers.
No. Not yet. I'm pleasantly surprised with how well it turned out, given that we just totally winged it.
Yeah,
I agree.
I was like when you think about, I would never set up a course for without like a lot of practice with someone who has had experience course designing. The fact that we just went out and did it went well, and I mean there are things about it in hindsight that I think maybe we could have done differently or better. But
there's only one spot that really bothered me. That was after the Chicago box coming over the hill off camber, and we had.
It did feel.
I think we should have tucked it in early there, and then went to the outside instead of the way we had it, which was out there while you're trying to make the car stop rotating and come down the hill.
All right.
Going from Pat that way, what was your favorite car?
If the RX-8 had good seats and put the power down better, it would be the RX-8.
Right.
That's the 2 things keeping it from being my favorite car. The biggest thing that I disliked about the RX-8 that kind of helped sway a decision is putting power down out of a corner. The lack of torque.
That was my favorite part.
Well, I don't feel like it. I feel like it was too easy to rotate, too easy to break loose, knowing the lack of torque that it has.
Yeah,
I was able to put the power down better in my car, and again, that's my driving style, which I know it has a lot more torque way earlier on.
Yeah.
But so it would be the M3, but I like the RX-8's turn in the best and its brake feel the best of all the cars.
Yeah.
So I'd have to go with the M3.
Okay.
I am also going with the M3.
Oh.
Yep.
I'm surprised.
Wow.
Oh.
I know.
I'm a little surprised.
And all the weird thing was, I was on the fence too with another car,
The
and my
SRT.
other car was the SRT4.
I was hoping you were going to pick the SRT.
I was so
Oh
on the
my.
fence about it. I just can't because
It just wasn't as good,
Yeah.
though. It
the
just,
SRT4 was more fun. I'm just
Yeah.
trying to throw that out there. It was just more fun, and it was the funnest car that we've had at the entire day. It was the one that had the biggest smile.
like you
on my
said,
face.
it's a hooligan.
Yeah,
It is a whole
It was wild.
I'm
warble,
going-
crackle, pop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm downplaying the RX-8 for all the reasons you just said, and I'm upplaying the M3 because the M3 just feels solid. It felt in every way, not a huge amount, but just a little bit better than the RX-8.
Except the brakes.
Yeah, except the brakes and the steering shit. But
and
other
the,
than
and the
that,
shifter. And the shifter.
and the shifter. was
But you don't.
Yeah, it doesn't actually
Right.
feel great, but it does everything great.
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
So you.
M3.
Okay.
What?
Wow.
What?
That's what I expected.
What?
What did you think I was going to say?
I thought you were going to say M3.
I think it was RX-8
Yeah.
or Miata.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
yeah!
I should have
Oh!
said RX-8 just because I went the fastest in it. But,
Right.
yeah, it was comfortable. Your seats ruined my experience. I'm sorry. I actually, if it was just about the driving experience, I would pick the RX-8. Exactly the opposite opinion of yours. I love that slip angle. I feel like it enabled me to get on the gas sooner because it didn't understeer when I did it.
So you want a car with a little bit more power that'll just break those tires loose and start slipping.
You can steer
forward.
with
We're going to get there. America's going to get there soon. But yeah, I mean, it just the BMW is the jack of all trades. It was comfy. It had great turn in. It had
Yes.
great lateral grip.
Yes.
It had great grip on exit. It transitions well in the slalom. At the end, its only deficiencies were the steering ratio, really, and the shifter, which in autocross you put it in
You're
second
only
and
doing
leave
one
it.
shift, so second leave it, and that's more of a feel thing.
Yeah.
It goes into there. I don't have trouble like rushing it into second
Yeah.
gear. I just don't like the feel.
Mid-range
when I'm rowing around.
torque.
We're talking about racing these cars, not
Right. Right.
I don't care what the shifter feels
Right.
like as long as it goes in second when I put it there.
Right.
Yeah.
So the steering ratio is the biggest performance drawback.
Yes.
The slow ratio, the school bus steering.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Zach, what was your
Also,
favorite?
So tell us why you like the
Okay,
RX-8 best.
surprise! What? How do you know?
Huh?
Well,
I haven't said it yet.
well.
Well, let's see it. Did he write it down?
8.
The
Eight.
eight.
Yeah.
That's an
The
eight.
Yeah, pen was dying.
Okay, the pen's
So, I guess I'm the old one.
The
but
dissenting opinion.
Even because probably I was least fitted to RX-8 compared to any of you guys
Right.
because C was like far back there,
Right.
And I was hanging on
You're
the
sitting
steering
on the
wheel.
edge of it.
Yeah, and however, even then, that car has such a great driving feel. It's snappy and like very crisp. Probably I talked about it in the RX-8 episode as well, but it really feels like Miata with just pure upgrade on everything. And
I could see that.
I could feel that car was fast and faster than any other car I drove. Actually, M3 was the one surprised me. It was faster than I thought. Like it has a lot of power and it has good handling, but I have to say feedback from the car was
Yeah.
not as good as RX-8. So I feel like I'm driving much slower than actually what it was end up with.
And you were. You were about a second slower on your lap
Yeah.
in the M3 versus the RX-8.
And
It shows.
Miata is Miata. I've been driving it, like I was driving it for a whole year, so it was good. And SRT, it was fun.
Yeah.
Fast or slow aside, it was just fun.
I think you had the most fun in it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. He was lighting
Yeah.
them up.
That was probably the only car that I still wanted more time in than I
Yeah.
had in it. That was
And we didn't get the video of Tact driving the SRT.
I know.
like a roasting.
I really don't know
tire.
why.
I know, it would have been so awesome.
Um,
Moving on. Hooligan.
I think
SRT4.
it's also worth saying that I feel like we got very lucky in that every car that we drove was really, really good. There was not a car there that I didn't like a lot. There was no car there that I wouldn't want to race at some point in time. Regardless if they were competitive or not. There was no car there where I thought, oh, this is horrible, get me out of the car.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right.
Or even any car that was like, eh. They were all fun. Like they were all a really good time.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like if anybody asked me if they should build one of these cars for their their respective classes, I would say.
How much money do you want to spend?
Yeah, well, yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, seriously, I was like, they were all
Pretty
really
much.
well put together, and they all had like a lot of strengths. It's honestly, when I was picking what I liked, it was really hard to pick any. I mean, they were all.
Speaking of, I did have a question for Tact, because I know that all three of us, I think we're all torn between the M3 and RX-8. Were you torn between RX-8 as your favorite car or no?
Yes.
So what were you torn between? What was there anything that was
Where
a
were
close
you at
second?
all?
Yeah.
Actually,
I'm kind of curious to hear what
RX-8
you would have
and
picked next.
Probably RX-8 and Miata,
Okay.
And then the Miata.
because
That's
RX-8
a Mazda.
The
more than that.
RX-8, to be honest,
Yeah.
like a baby RX-8.
Yeah.
He did clue us
And-
into that the RX-8 just takes everything further.
Yeah, right.
And also Miata is like, it's 1.6, it's open def, and it's rusty, so body's like flexing everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And still, it gets decent time, and of course, like
Decent
it was
time.
matching to the post
Did
pretty
great.
well, but
Yeah.
it was like just, it does so much better than what you expect from that
Mhm.
rusty Miata. So that's
That's
why I
an
like
overachiever.
Miata.
It had the least
But-
racy feel,
Mhm.
in my opinion,
I
of
agree.
all three
Oh,
cars,
man.
of all four
Yeah.
cars rather.
Mhm.
Stock springs.
So it was the
Yeah.
one that, from a pure fun standpoint,
Mhm.
it was probably my least favorite from a pure fun
Yeah.
standpoint. Where the SRT4 might have been the most fun,
Yeah.
but just from like going out there, have a good time. I don't care as much about times. I just want to enjoy driving this course quickly.
I felt like the Miata was almost borderline relaxing in that sense. That
It was.
It was really hard to just not go. It never felt that.
Right.
It was very approachable and easy. In a weird way, it was kind of like the SRT4 in that, largely because of the open diff and because of the lack of power, it's tricky to get the last 5-10% of the big speed out of it because you have to be really precise. Because if you slow down too much, the whole run's shot.
Yeah.
That's true. It's a momentum car. I wasn't sure
Yeah.
where you were going that for a second. I was like, it was really easy to drive, but I see where you're going. You got to keep your momentum.
Yeah, the big
Big-
speed requires you to be
Stay
really,
off the pedal in the middle.
Yeah, and stay on the line really aggressively.
Yeah.
If you pick a good line, that car rewards you a lot.
And actually, it's a good teaching, I said learning car.
Absolutely.
Like I drove it for a
Car
year,
teaches
and
the
I learned.
driver.
Yeah, I learned a lot.
It was the only car that Tavis took a few laps in and said,
Yeah, I'm done.
I'm done. Yeah. Tavis was in a few laps and said, I'm done. I've got everything I can out of it.
Yeah.
That's exactly what you probably want as a student when you're
Mhm.
learning how to do this. It's not threatening. You'll get to its limits quickly.
Right.
You can
Yeah.
approach them safely.
Yeah.
And you can see the limit very easily.
Like, dude,
Did we want to cover anything else are we done basically with all this?
There's one thing that I want to say.
What's that?
4-car comparo!
Ooh. Roundell's out.
Oh, please.
Roundell's out.
All right.
Please like, subscribe, share, comment. We appreciate all the input.
If you like us, tell your friends, and if you don't like us, tell someone you hate.